So where does Eden Hazard rank amongst the greatest at Stamford Bridge? That's what we're going to talk about today. Hello there guys, what is going on? Daniel Childs back here again for another show. Hope you're doing well and keeping safe on this Tuesday, the 10th of October 2023, the day that Eden Hazard announced his retirement from professional football. So it felt appropriate in this show to talk about his legacy, where he ranks amongst the greatest of all time at Chelsea, also in regards to the Premier League. Some of my favourite Eden Hazard moments, what he meant to me as a fan watching him at Chelsea, and just a football lover in general, what he brought to the game. And you guys as well in the comments, give me your thoughts on some of your favourite Eden Hazard moments throughout his career, which we will delve into. If you are new around here, like the sound of that, smash that like button, hit that subscribe button, turn those notifications on so you don't miss any of the Chelsea content coming up over the international break. Don't want to miss it because we've got some good guests coming on the show to chat about Chelsea and other things as well. You can also get this show as a podcast. Just search at SonOfChelsea on your favourite podcast provider. But we've got to read the statement from Eden Hazard that was released this morning that announced his retirement. This is what he had to say. "You must listen to yourself and say stop at the right time. After 16 years and more than 700 matches played, I have decided to end my career as a professional footballer. I was able to realise my dream. I have played and had fun on many pitches around the world. During my career, I was lucky to meet great managers, coaches and teammates. Thank you to everyone for these great times. I will miss you all. I also want to thank the clubs I have played for, Lille, Chelsea and Real Madrid, and thank the RBFA for my Belgian selection. A special thank you to my family, my friends, my advisors, and the people who have been close to me in good times and bad. Finally, a huge thank you to you, my fans, who have followed me for all these years and for your encouragement." So the reaction I have seen from people is it's a really sad day for football. I can sort of understand that, sort of not. I mean, I don't know how you can be that stunned that we've reached this stage with Eden Hazard so quickly, really, when you think about it. I think 32 years old. In modern football, that is quite a surprisingly young age. Even if I didn't suspect when he left Chelsea in 2019, he'd be playing at the highest level still at the age of 32. It still is a young age, but then when you take into context all of his injury problems he has had since he left Chelsea in 2019, it's not that much of a shock. And one of the things I admire so much about Eden Hazard is how he kind of goes against the grain of the players with his level of quality. Just in a sense, as a character, he very much is about the joy of football. And it has always felt like the many stories we have heard about him, munching on, burgers in the dressing room, or, playing Mario Kart a couple of minutes before he has to go out and play for Chelsea. Then the moment you get into game mode, he turns into one of the best players you've ever seen. That kind of sums up Eden Hazard. He's kind of a throwback player, actually, to a previous era. And, there was always his talk when he was at Chelsea that can he reach the level of, Messi and Ronaldo? And of course, that's kind of unrealistic. It's unrealistic for a majority of players. They are kind of freakish anomalies in football, unfortunately, for the majority. So they kind of, even though Eden Hazard is still and should be regarded as one of the greatest footballers we've ever seen, because especially from a Chelsea fan perspective, he's one of the most talented players we have ever seen at Stamford Bridge. Because he didn't reach astronomical levels, because he didn't put up ridiculous, insane numbers that the likes of Messi and Ronaldo did, that doesn't mean, he failed to me. I think he still had an incredible career. And the fact that he used football, it felt like a shorter career, but like he enjoyed it for the love of the game. It felt like you were watching a player, just a kid on the playground, really. And that kind of joyful, freeing aspect to Eden Hazard was so wonderful to witness throughout the years. And I don't think it's like that sad, because we get to, look back on his career and think about him as kind of this Chelsea story from a Chelsea point of view as a Chelsea fan, but also look back at some of the incredible memories. I feel that Eden Hazard, there are a few players, and I think maybe, of course, this has to do with Chelsea struggles, but even the first season after he left, like there are moments where I'd sort of sit there and think, I do miss Eden Hazard. I miss watching him play for Chelsea. And that's one of the things that makes him so special, because it was those cliches of kind of he was a player that once he got the ball, you would get out of your seat, you'd expect something to happen, and being able to actually be in attendance for some of his best Chelsea moments at Stamford Bridge, I feel so lucky that I was able to be there for the Tottenham goal, for the Arsenal goal, for his involvement in the title-winning season, the 2 title-winning seasons under Jose Mourinho and Antonio Conte, respectively. I'm going to say this right now, I think the Arsenal goal is my favourite Eden Hazard goal. The goal where turns Francis Coquelin into a bottle top. Go into some of the numbers behind Eden Hazard to appreciate his talent. 352 appearances for Chelsea, 110 goals, 92 assists. He was the player of the year at Chelsea in 2014, 2015, 2017 and 2019. He was the players' player of the year in 2015 and 2019. He won Chelsea's goal of the season in 15-16. That was against Tottenham, 16-17 against Arsenal and 18-19 against Liverpool. That was also that incredible Anfield goal in the League Cup. He was the PFA Players Player of the Year in 2015, the Premier League Player of the Season in 2015, also the FWA Footballer of the Year in 2015, PFA Premier League Team of the Year he made in 13, 14, 15 and 17. Now for some more specific stats, Eden Hazard completed 916 take-ons during his 7 Premier League seasons, more than any other in the division in that time. He completed 100 plus take-ons in 5 different Premier League seasons. That was 14, 15, 17, 18, 16, 17, 18, 19 and 13, 14. During the 14-15 season, when Chelsea won the Premier League title under Jose Mourinho, he also created 100 chances with 98 from open play. Just insane. And again, it's kind of those things that, and maybe we thought this at the time too, that Eden could become a player that would score like 40 goals a season. But still, I think Eden's all-round involvement and influence for Chelsea cannot be understated. I think it became more apparent, obviously, in the last years of him at Chelsea, when the quality of the squad dipped significantly and Chelsea weren't competing for the Premier League title anymore. But still, he provided, obviously, some great moments. I guess the big question is, like, where does he rank for me personally? And it can only really be a subjective thing unless you do some kind of massive poll. But it's difficult because all of this is going to be based on your experience as a fan. I obviously don't think that Eden Hazard is the greatest footballer to play at Chelsea ever. I don't think he's Chelsea's greatest ever player. Personally, for me, that's Frank Lampard. I think that probably Didier Drogba comes still above Eden Hazard. I guess the problem that any player, when you put them up against, say, Lampard and Didier, is they have these real iconic, historic moments of like first time things or the first time in a long time things for Chelsea. Frank obviously scored the 2 goals at Bolton that got us our first Premier League title in 50 years and of course had such a longevity at Chelsea. And Didier was the same too, and of course the biggest thing for Didier that's going to clinch his legacy at Chelsea forever, his contribution in that Munich final, not only scoring the equaliser but then of course scoring the winning penalty so Chelsea could lift their first Champions League crown. It's difficult if you're a player coming after that to compete with that, right? But Eden, of course, I feel Eden Hazard has to be in probably the top 5 conversation because of his influence and his quality. If we're talking about pure talent, pure entertainment value, he kind of was my generation's Gianfranco Zola. Like, I wasn't lucky enough to see Gianfranco Zola live. I mean, the first time I watched Zola play football live was actually a few weeks ago in that Legends game, because I, became a Chelsea fan and was taken to Chelsea at the age of 5 in 2003, which was the 03-04 season, just after Zola had left the club. So, for me, I didn't get to experience that. I didn't get to experience Zola at his pomp and what he meant to Chelsea fans. So even though, of course, I grew up adoring Frank Lampard, Didier Drogba, JT, and getting to see some wonderful players, obviously, Eden Hazard, if we're talking about kind of that flair player, that wizard on the pitch, he was kind of that player for me personally. And I still think when you look at his contribution to 2 Premier League title wins, contributing so heavily to 2 Premier League title wins is still absolutely huge, given how far Chelsea currently feel from winning a Premier League title. Like, that is still a massive thing. It has to put him very high on the list. I think it's not just about pure talent we can speak about, because Chelsea have had a lot of talented players, but you've also, I think, in my opinion, we're talking about great players. We're talking about players who changed the course of Chelsea history or kind of were so important, vital in moments. I think Eden Hazard obviously comes close in terms of his influence and his involvement and the quality he had. There were spells where he was definitely the best player in the Premier League. He was the most influential. I mean, look at those stats in 14-15. And I think it's incredible as well, the development that Eden Hazard had as a player too. When you look at him in his first season at Chelsea, where he just came in, he had some really good moments of talent and genius in his very first season, 12-13. But once Jose came in, the way he started to really get into his prime, and I thought the way he bulked up and physically he was able to cope with the demands of the Premier League. And the shame of it was, I think the durability and the best years we got out of him, it did catch up with him in the end. I can't believe that it had no impact on what we've seen in recent years, where his body has broken down because he took an absolute kicking. It obviously took its toll in the end, and I think that's a real shame. And it's a shame that he, went to Real Madrid and wasn't able to continue that legacy. I was very happy that at the very least he got to take a picture with a Champions League trophy, get to win a Champions League and be able to take home a Champions League winners medal. Obviously not in the fashion I think a lot of us would have suspected he would have one day in his career, very much leading that. Instead, that was Vinicius Jr. Very much it had passed him by from that point. And in the World Cup too, getting close a few times with Belgium. But still, this is a ridiculous player, like someone who I just think in terms of highlight reels, we can talk, you can break down best and kind of subjective. Let's say if you were 7, 8 and 9 when you fell in love with football and Eden Hazard was the star of Chelsea. I can understand why to some people they would be their kind of favourite and even in their eyes their best player of all time, because I could understand that. For me it was, Lampard, so obviously that very much takes up a lot in my head. And I know that, older Chelsea fans will have Zola, right, because they grew up watching him. And you'd think back to, of course, Peter Osgood, in the 70 Cup final and the massive impact he had on that period of Chelsea history and why people still talk about him today. So it's going to come down to generations and where you grew up and what do you kind of quantify as most important. But absolutely the appreciation has to be there for Eden Hazard. If you are watching this, if you are a Chelsea fan, which I assume you are, in the comments below, or maybe just a football fan who enjoyed Eden Hazard, let me know some of your thoughts down below, like some of your favourite moments from Eden Hazard's career. And I'm interested to see what he does. He is quite a laid-back guy, but I'd love to see him return to Chelsea in some form, whether that is in an academy role, maybe a coaching role. I'm not sure how interested he is in that because, as I say, he's kind of that character that kind of feel like maybe we just want to chill now, right? Like he isn't going to be someone that maybe is going to be as intense as maybe other ex-footballers of going straight into coaching, but we'll see how that develops. I'd be very excited to see what kind of coach Eden Hazard would make and what style of football an Eden Hazard team would play. I'd be fascinated by that. But whatever he does, he will always be remembered as a Chelsea legend. So those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below, and I will see you again very soon. All the best.